One of the NBC analysts who's here for the distance events is Kara Goucher. At one time, she was one of the very best distance runners in the world. She's a two-time American Olympian and at one point had the silver medal in these world championships. So she definitely knows what she's thinking about and what she's talking about when she's calling a distance race. But her return here to Hayward Field, well, that interestingly brought a real complicated mix of emotions.
What's in there? Do you want to look?
I last saw Kara Goucher at her West Hills home in 2012.
You like it?
She had just received a box of her Olympic gear.
I think I see my racing uniform, Colt.
It allowed me to watch as she opened it up with her toddler, Colt. I was there to profile one of Oregon's top runners. She'd been with the Nike Project, coached by Alberto Salazar, since 2004. As you might expect, she loved running.
Sometimes I'll run down to the grocery store, the QFC, so I'll run down on Skyline for a while, and then I'll run down Cornell, and then down Miller to the grocery store, and Adam will pick me up there. And
Goucher was 34 when we shot this video. Since then, she and her family moved to Boulder, Colorado, but now she's back in Eugene for the World Track and Field Championships. It's been quite a decade for her.
Yes, I mean, 10 years ago I had a little toddler who wasn't even two running around. I was still running a lot at that time and training with Shalane Flanagan, and it was a long time ago, or it feels like a long time ago.
Maybe feels like a lifetime ago.
It was a lifetime ago, yes.
How about if we talk about your running first? What's going on these days with you?
Yeah, about a year and a half ago, I started having some really bizarre symptoms, and I ended up at a neurologist, and then I sort of saw a bunch of different neurologists and was accepted into the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota. And
doctors told her she had something called repetitive exercise dystonia. It's a rare condition that basically means her brain is not communicating correctly with her left leg.
And so it's caused me to fall on runs. I feel like I'm slipping, I drift to the left side of the road. And so now I'm just sort of in this phase of treatment. There's a lot of connection between Parkinson's and dystonia.
It's taken a year to figure out the right mix of medications. She's taking a drug used to treat Parkinson's now, and it is helping.
So I'm basically a few months into trying to reclaim some of my running. I'll never run another marathon, which has been hard to accept. But I'd like to be able to run more than I can right now.
Running has always been a passion and an outlet for Kara Goucher. She's run multiple full marathons faster than most of us can run a half marathon. She came in 11th in the marathon at those Summer Olympic Games back in 2012. Yeah, and of all the people to have this happen to...
Yeah, it feels really unfair. If I'm being totally honest, it feels super unfair. I love running. I fell in love with running with my grandpa when I was 6 years old.
And you're one of the best in the world.
I was one of the best in the world, but I still just run a lot. I run, up until a year and a half ago, I'd still sometimes run twice a day. I would go out, tell my husband I'll be back in an hour and come back 3 hours later. I just really love running, and it gives me so much peace and comfort. And so it's been hard to learn what my new boundaries are.
Her entire life involved running from high school to college and the elite professional level that brought her into the Nike fold. Imagine what it would be like to have all of that taken away. How are you coping with it?
Leaning into family. I mean, I did start seeing a therapist because I was just like, running has always sort of been my therapy. And so then when I don't have it, I feel like I don't have a way to get out my frustrations or just life stuff. So talking through it with the therapist a lot, and just leaning into other things I love. Time with my family. We joked earlier, I don't swim or bike really, but I have started lifting a lot more and just doing other things. And I think one of the things when I was an athlete, when I would get injured, I would, instead of being upset, I would try to reframe it as opportunity and time I didn't know I had, and I would go visit my family. And I'm trying to do that with this as well. It's like, okay, I can't do this, but that opens up time. What could I do instead?
Yeah. When her leg problems began, Goucher wondered if it was stress-related. Her life turned upside down after she became one of the first athletes to blow the whistle on her former coach, Alberto Salazar. She felt he promoted doping. Salazar was first suspended from the sport, then banned for life after additional allegations that included, according to the New York Times, the sexual assault of an athlete. Salazar denies all the charges, but lost an appeal, and the lifetime ban stands.
I believe that it wasn't gray area. I believe lines had been crossed as far as anti-doping rules, and I felt really strongly about that. And that's what I testified to. Things I didn't know what other people had experienced. For instance, Steve Magnus, I didn't know about any of the things. I didn't even know about the L-carnitine infusion. I didn't know about any of that stuff when I went to USADA. It was just things that I had seen that made me very uncomfortable, and enough where I had to leave, and I had to actually leave a program I loved. I felt like a line had been crossed.
Goucher said she was shunned from the sport after she came forward about the doping.
Oh, it was horrible. I don't think people realize how close we were, and there was a lot of feelings for me like I was betraying someone who I cared about deeply. And so, that's been a really hard part of my life, Honestly, I feel like it affected my career at the end and everything, just because it was so heavy for me, and a lot of people involved, not just myself. But I think we went through the hearing, he appealed the decision, we went through it again, and the ban stood. And so I think in the end, the right thing happened.
Still, it's difficult for her to return to Eugene, where Nike is everywhere, and Salazar remains a hero to many.
It's tough to be in Eugene. I feel like I've carved out sort of a new experience here being with NBC, but it is, a big time Nike town, and University of Oregon is obviously really tied to people that I used to be very close with who I'm not with anymore. And so it is tricky for me to be here. I think the first job I did last year in April was really hard. I got a tour of the new facility, which is absolutely stunning. And I went back to my hotel room and started crying on the phone to my husband. I was like, I don't know if I can do this, But I feel like I'm overcoming that, and I'm finding I have so much joy calling these races and telling the stories of the athletes. And so I feel like it's helped me sort of work through a lot of stuff and realize that there's still a lot of good to be had and good times to enjoy.
Mm-hmm. During the World Track and Field events, Goucher will lend her insights during the distance running events on NBC. It's one of the ways she stays connected to the sport she loves.
I miss the being in the race, the reading the other women, the looking for the moves, the hearing the bell, knowing you're going to have to hurt, knowing you're going to have to dig deep. I miss all of that stuff. And so being an analyst, it's like the best. I get to watch it and tell the audience what's happening, and also help humanize the athletes, but without the pain, But it does make me feel connected to a sport that I really love.
Thanks to Kara Goucher for being so open and honest and courageous talking about the challenges in her life.